hate it when people say you're too sensitive. I think I've been told that a lot. And I often think people say that when they have like a lack of empathy, or they're trying to justify them being cruel. I just don't think you should ever tell someone how to feel and how not to feel, because emotion's just a truth. I just wanna have a good night. Hold up, if you don't know, get to know. I actually am obsessed with doing this at the moment. It's like being in a steam room. You know when something just feels good for you? You don't need to research, you just know. like a teacher with my scarf like this. I just want it to be cozy, you know? We're putting this bad boy, organic lemon and ginger infusion. Clipper. I've been really liking lemon and ginger teas. Do you know what? I'm gonna take the clip out. When I'm filming, you just see me like this, and I just feel like it looks weird. Do you know what I mean? Pretty clip, isn't it? My mum got a pack and she didn't like these colours, so she gave them to me. Pretty, aren't they? Okay, hello. Welcome to today's video. We're going to be talking about some pretty important stuff after I dispose of this tea bag. Let me bring the bin to you. Just aesthetic things. Just bringing my bin to the subscribers. If you're not subscribed, this is the kind of content you're going to be getting, so subscribe. I think this is going to be piping hot, so I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to drink it yet. So, I've just been out with my mum, I've had a coffee, and I've not really drank anything that's going to hydrate me. So, in this video, it's Operation Get Hydrated. My lemon and ginger and my water. You know when you're dehydrated when you drink water and you think, that is so lovely. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about shame. Shame limits us so much and it crops up all the time for me. So I'm sure some of you out there can relate. I want you to feel less shame because today, actually, I've unpacked a lot of shame and I don't know, I've just had a really nice time and I actually feel like I've released some shame today, which is quite cool. Nice. Ish. So, one thing that you might feel shame about is being single. Now, I can't speak lots for this because I'm not single and I haven't had long periods of being single for a very long time. So I'm just going to brush over this, but I have friends that really struggle with this and I think about this a lot and it's related a lot to feminism and just being a woman and I'm really interested in that.
Would you look at them? Never gonna find a boyfriend again. Die an old maid.
Being single might make you feel really rubbish and you might be really embarrassed to tell people that you're single, you know, at a party and people are like, oh, have you met anyone? Do you know what? One thing I've caught myself doing is if I have, like with my single friends, I'll be like, oh, have you met anyone yet? Or like any news on the romance side? And I try to do it a bit more subtly, but actually I think constantly asking that question puts that expectation that they should be meeting someone when really you don't need to be with anyone. You are completely entitled to just live your life, you know, with your friends and your family and, you know, having your own intimate life maybe with yourself. So I think I'm actually putting pressure on people by asking that. I think we need to be really careful with the questions that we ask people. At the moment, sorry, I'm going on a tangent already and we haven't even got through the first point. I've got lots of things that I don't want you to feel ashamed about and I'm going to talk about it. And being single is one of them. We'll see how long it takes to get onto the others. Sit back. Have a glass of water if you're dehydrated. This flicks water into my eye. Yeah, at the moment, I have decided I'm going to stop asking people, what do you do? Like, what work do you do? Because I think so many people do jobs that they don't enjoy and they then end up talking about the jobs they already don't enjoy and that don't reflect who they are. And I just think if they want to talk about it, they will find a way of talking about it with me. I'd just rather ask, what are you passionate about? So maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to start doing that too. There's just so many people out there who are doing jobs that they hate and I just don't want to give like more time for them to complain about their work. I'd rather hear about what people are passionate about and what they feel positive about, and I want to enjoy the conversation. I'm sure they do too. So I want to talk about happy, positive things. So just food for thought. So let's quickly note that being single is regarded in a negative light, particularly if you're a woman. Annoyingly, it's just the world that we live in, isn't it? That women just get the tough end of the stick most of the time. There is this narrative that the single man is like an eligible bachelor and he's a player and he's probably sleeping around. It's not that he can't get women, he's just a bit of a commitment phobe. But that's cool because, you know, commitment's not like a sexy thing in a man. We like a player, we want someone to treat us badly. There's such a like kind of positive narrative, a sexy narrative around single men, and this is not reciprocated when it comes to women. It's negative. It's, if you're a single woman, you're often like very stereotypically depicted as like desperate and sad and lonely and insecure and just less satisfied. And I think of the single women in my life that I know, and they've got a lot going on for them. I have one single friend, she's really, you know, working on herself. I think she's in this new era where she's really confident. She's not lonely because she's got so many friends, not so many friends, but really good quality friends. She's really close with her family. She is really getting on track work-wise. So being single is not like always an ugly thing. It might be if you're feeling the pressures of society to get into a relationship, then it can turn ugly. I don't think you should feel ashamed of being single, because what's so bad about being single? You don't need to prove your worth by being with someone, by being with a man, by being with a woman, by having a partner. That doesn't make you a cool, attractive person. What makes you a cool, attractive person is if you're kind and if you're caring and if you, I don't know, ask insightful questions to your friends and give them the space to be themselves. And having a partner doesn't mean that you're a great person, but I know that we're kind of fed that idea through the films that we watch. And I know I always bring it back. If you watch my YouTube videos a lot, I always do bring it back to media. That's because I studied media at university, and I realise how much TV shows and films get in our heads and it drives culture. The one thing that I want to talk about is Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston. So the way that they are talked about in the press really reflects how different being single is portrayed and perceived based upon gender. So this is from 2022. Brad Pitt is having fun with newly single Emily Ratajkowski. Inspired Brad Pitt relishes single life. Relishes just makes it sound like he's having a great time, that he's this eligible bachelor going out with, you know, a supermodel or model. I don't know if she's a supermodel or not. Yeah, it's a positive thing, right? We're getting quite a positive vision of a happy Brad Pitt. Whereas Jennifer Aniston says she would love a relationship. Jennifer Aniston, I'm ready to find love again. It's kind of this desperate trying to look for someone else kind of vibe. You don't think of her being happy after reading that article, do you? You don't see her as this like beaming person that's just really enjoying life. You think, oh, maybe she's a bit lonely, a bit insecure, less satisfied because she's looking for a partner. Oh, I don't trust what those articles are saying at all. So yeah, one thing that I don't want you to feel ashamed about is being single, if you are single. And I know me saying I don't want you to feel ashamed isn't going to suddenly switch things. Just want you to be a bit kinder with yourself. And if you've got this narrative in your head that being single is bad and you kind of judge yourself every time someone asks or you see a couple on TV or on social media, maybe just try and change the narrative. And that's going to be my advice throughout this video, I think. The way that we speak to ourselves is so important. If you go, oh, you're still single, you're so lonely, then I think you really start to believe the negative voice in your head. So I just think we should be careful with that. Maybe try and say, I've got beautiful friends. I am surrounded by wonderful, inspiring people. I'm so loved. I love myself. And that is the most powerful thing. More powerful than a partner loving me. And from someone in a relationship, and who's been in quite a few relationships quite close together, I still think the most magical, important type of love is the love that you give to yourself. Oh, I'm really excited. I'm having pizzas tonight, vegan pizzas. It's Veganuary at the moment, and all the vegan stuff is on discount, so it's just quite exciting. And there's all these new products out. It's actually at a coffee shop today with my mum. She came to London. It's really nice, really weird meeting up with my mum in London, because usually like I'll go home to see her in the countryside. So it's really weird seeing her in, like, I don't want to say my ends, but I'm spending a lot of time in London, so it does feel that way. In the coffee shop, they'd run out of all the vegan things, and the thing they had was a vegan brownie, and I'm not a brownie gal. I did have it, but I just don't really get the hype about brownies. But yeah, they'd run out of all the other vegan things, and part of me was like, but part of me was like, yeah, this is a good thing. Also saw on the tube that this charity was offering to pay money to charity. I think it was £1 million to a charity if Rishi Sunak went vegan for a month, which I thought was really interesting. I don't know if he took it up. I doubt he did, otherwise I'm sure it would have made a headline. If you are doing Veganuary, comment down below and let me know. Or if you're vegan already, comment down and let me know. Pause the video now. Type it down. Just really like connecting with you guys, so please comment in the comment section and just chat to me, because, sorry, that sounds really forceful. I just really like it, because sometimes when I'm posting these videos, I'm like, you don't have the human side of it, so you don't really feel like you're doing much. But when I see like a name and a little profile picture, and I read what you guys have said, and you've all said it in your own little ways that show like little snippets of your personality, I think, oh, I'm communicating with other humans. This is so beautiful and exciting, and I really love that. I do this because I want to connect with other people, because I am a sensitive little emotional person who just wants to feel understood and meet other people like me. This actually leads me swiftly on to the next thing that I don't want you to feel ashamed of, and that is being sensitive and being an emotional person. I remember I did a video on this a long time ago, and it felt so cathartic to talk about this, because I don't think it's talked about enough. And I bet there are so many sensitive people, emotional people out there. I actually got a list, so if you don't know whether to regard yourself as a sensitive emotional person or a highly sensitive person, if you say yes to all of these things, then most likely you are. Are you highly perceptive and empathetic? Do you feel everything deeply? Do you absorb other people's emotions, and can you tell when something's wrong? Do you pick up on subtleties other people might miss out on? Have you got a heightened intuition? And do you feel easily drained or overwhelmed in loud, chaotic, or otherwise overstimulating environments? I am a big fat yes to all of those things, and the world often overwhelms me and I just want to cry. I can cry a lot, and I feel things so quickly, but I don't feel shameful of that as much as I used to, because I view that as a superpower now. Because, well, one, I think I've got a lot of emotional, quite sensitive friends, so we all get each other. Whereas my friends, just some people I've had in my life in the past, don't think they really got that, which is fine. It just meant our communication styles clashed, and they wouldn't get that things, like little things, would hurt me, or I don't know, I pour a lot of energy and love into phrasing things so they don't hurt people and making like people feel good and uplifting them, and they wouldn't do the same for me, and I'd be like, well, I need that. Being sensitive and emotional is not something to feel ashamed of, it's something to feel proud of, and it is a superpower. My example is when I was going through when I've gone through breakups, I have gone through multiple, I tend to feel it all so intensely. That means I get it out of my system. I think so many people don't really feel things really deeply, and they don't go through their emotions, and they don't cry it out, and they don't speak about it. And it just ends up storing in their body all this stress and upsetment, and it just turns into this thing that lives in you, and it makes you just a bit more negative and hostile. Whereas I think because I, after breakups, cried it out so much, I got over it so much quicker than I should have done, or like most people, or maybe the guys. And I do think this is a gendered thing too. More generally, I think women tend to be a bit more sensitive and emotional. And I think that's why we get over things quicker when we break up with people, because you know that's that thing that people say, you know, guys always take longer to get over it than girls. I think it's because we can cry about it and we can accept it for what it is, and we can mourn the loss of the relationship, whereas I think guys tend to, not all guys, because there are wonderful emotional guys, but I think a lot of guys tend to just bypass it and pretend they're okay when really there's a lot of hurt going on. I think feeling things is really beautiful and special, and I think often if you are someone who is sensitive, you're probably really kind. You make mistakes too. Don't think that because you're sensitive you can't hurt people, because you can. But I think being sensitive is actually quite an attractive thing for me. I look for sensitive, emotional friends now. I don't want someone that's really... I want people that are put together and they've got their shit together, but that's not... Being a wreck is not synonymous with being sensitive. And I think that's a false narrative that's put out a lot, that being sensitive, it makes you weak and unattractive and desperate. No. Being sensitive can be this really beautiful thing, and I'm trying to paint this beautiful picture now and regard sensitivity as this superpower now, because that helps me be proud in my sensitivity too. And yeah, as I said, I've just got lots of friends that I admire now that I think they're sensitive. I mean, I'm not sure, I would have to ask them. I hate it when people say you're too sensitive. I think I've been told that a lot, and I often think people say that when they have a lack of empathy, or they're trying to justify them being cruel. I just don't think you should ever tell someone how to feel and how not to feel, because emotions just are truth. They are complete truth. You can't argue with emotions. So when people say you're too sensitive, I'm like, well, I just feel this way. That's that. Highly sensitive people are too often perceived as weaklings or damaged goods. To feel intensely is not a symptom of weakness, it's a trademark of the truly alive and compassionate. How nice is that? It's by Anthony St. Martin. Martin with 2 A's, never seen that before. I wonder if you're watching this video in bed. I tend to watch YouTube videos in the evenings in bed. Let me know if, what time you're watching my video and where. Again, because I just want to picture you watching me now. I always like to imagine that I've got a little friend with me when I'm filming, even though I'm in a room on my own right now. I always do feel a sense of comfort and warmth, because even though the video isn't out with you guys yet, because I'm mid-filming, I know it's going to be, and the people that follow me, that are subscribed to my channel, are just pretty magical people. There's so much love and kindness. So I already just feel that kindness coming my way, even though I haven't posted it yet. Last thing to do with being sensitive and emotional, if you want to feel better about it and feel less shame when people say oh, just get over it, stop feeling so upset. That's this annoying thing when people are just don't get upset about it. Thanks. Instead of saying oh, I'm pathetic, why do I feel so upset about this? Say to yourself, I've written this down, I'm emotionally intelligent. I feel things quickly and deeply, and this means processing emotions quicker. This means I don't harbour negative feelings for years. Again, it's all about talking to yourself in a really kind and compassionate way. It's really important to do that. Let's get hydrated.
I'm hungry.
But it's that awkward time of day. What time is it? 13, 14, 7:23. I just did that on camera, didn't I? I can't tell the time. I can. I know that 20 is 8 o'clock and that 23 is 11 o'clock, 22 is 10, 13 is 1, but I just struggle with 6 o'clock, and yeah, embarrassing. Well, not really embarrassing, school wasn't a great time for me. I was anxious. I had to do all my learning after school, even after uni, really. I mean, I learned a bit more at uni because I had a bit more independence. Anyway, I said anyway, but I'm going to continue going on a tangent. Spoke about school with my mum today, and we had such an interesting conversation. We were talking about how everyone remembers things in different ways. Everyone's memory works in different ways, and there are ways to really absorb information that suits you. For me, I'm a visual person. I'm colours. For example, I was literally on the phone to my boyfriend, and I was like, I'm by the White House. And he was like, what? It's that's just how I remember how to get places. I don't look at street names. I look at like, oh, there's the house with graffiti on it. There's the man who sells baguettes. That's how I remember things. And I was just thinking, at school, I wasn't allowed space to remember things in my own way. I just had to follow the way that everyone followed, and that suited some people, but you know, it didn't suit others. And I think that's why I spent a lot of time in like bottom sets, because one, I was really anxious, and two, I didn't get time to figure out how to remember things my way, in a way that suits me. And yeah, now I've figured that out. So now I've got things on lock. I remember things. I'm brainy. I'm beautiful, brainy, and clever, and sweet, and caring. Speak to yourself in a positive way. I'm gonna drink this, and whilst I do it, I want you to compliment yourself. Just with a soft internal whisper, just say, I'm beautiful, I'm lovely. Give yourself some compliments now, and believe them. Go on. I thought I broke my clip then. I literally given it by my mum today. Oh, thank God. These break so quickly as well. The next thing that I don't want you to feel ashamed of is the hair growing on your body. It's really hard to look at the hair on your arms, or the hair on your legs, the hair on your belly, the hair on your back, the hair on your butt, wherever it is. It's really hard to look at it and feel comfortable as a woman. Women are shamed for basically growing up. Your hair is not the devil. The devil is capitalism. It's the companies trying to sell you things, and they're selling you confidence at the end of the day. That's why they show images of women smiling and looking pretty, and men looking at them, or just them, you know, living their best life. And then suddenly it cuts to them shaving their legs, and you're like, what? So being like clean shaven and hairless means happiness, and it feeds into this like narrative of what a woman should be: hairless, beautiful, slim. People are trying to make money and sell a product. When you look at your hairy armpits and you think, this is ugly. No, 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 no. It's just something that I've learned, but I can unlearn it, and you can, and you will, if you keep watching my videos, because this is the kind of stuff that boils my blood. There are moments where I feel disgusted by the natural state of my body. Luckily, my partner is really positive, and he's not telling me, you know, to shave, and he's not saying that he prefers me with long hair, with no hair. I think that's the stage we've moved on to now. Guys are not saying, oh, I don't like that. They're saying, I prefer it, it's a preference. And I get that, but there's just, well, I don't, because there's just such a stigma. And I just think if we take time to unpick that, we can realise that's not something we deeply dislike. It's just something we've been socialised to dislike, because companies want to sell women razors and take all our money away and time. So I just think, give women the time back, let them like not shave every week, and instead spend time on their mental health and meditating, as opposed to shaving so she looks good to you. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I get really, I don't know if you can tell, it boils my blood a bit, this subject. And yeah, listen to this. The body hair removal market is valued at 1.2 billion. This was in 2017, and it's set to reach 3.4 billion by 2025. Anything that's making that amount of money, you've got to question. That's just something I live by. Just question everything. I was thinking this on the tube today. I saw there was these like tablets that were being like marketed in this poster, and it was like approved by this, this, and this. And I'm like, just because it's approved by this big body doesn't mean I should trust it, because so many things are corrupt. I was reading Psychology Today, which is where I do a lot of my research for these videos. And yes, I extensively research for these videos because I don't want to just be spouting out my thoughts all the time, because then I'll just repeat the same things. And Psychology Today, yeah, is my favourite place to read stuff from at the moment. And I found this. Hair removal is required, not regarded as a beauty practice, but as a health or hygiene practice. Being hairy is a source of shame. And that's so true. I remember at university, there was someone who didn't shave their armpits, and everyone was like, oh, that's so unhygienic, and that's not true. Our bodies are designed to like kind of be a bit like self-sufficient. Like if you leave your hair and you don't shampoo it, it starts to clean itself. I'm sure you've heard of that. I'm sure you know that. Our bodies are designed to kind of look after themselves. Obviously, like washing is great. I'm fully in favour of that, but you just have to think about it really. Do you really think that growing hair on your armpit's unhygienic? Obviously not. Your hair's there for a reason, just like your eyelashes are there for a reason. They're there to kind of catch bits so they don't go in your eyeball. I just want you to strip back why we're acquiring this shame, because sometimes understanding where the shame comes from helps you to actually get rid of the shame, because it makes you think, well, forget this. This is like rubbish. This is just people trying to sell things again. It's all about money. It's not a bad thing to have hair. I saw this video on TikTok of this girl's armpit hair, and it was all curly, and actually, if you really look at it for longer than a couple of minutes, not that I did that. That sounds kind of weird, but if you really look at it, it's pretty. We're so brainwashed. My mind will, though, when I see someone with hairy armpits, it will jump at first, I admit, to being like, oh, ooh, that's not looking great. But deep down, I don't believe that at all. Question everything. I'm tempted to get that bloody tattooed. I went through a phase of really wanting to get a tattoo here on my arm. In fact, I'll put a picture up on the screen because I actually got someone to write empathy. I think empatia, because I wanted to get in Italian. So then nod to my Italian side too. I wanted to get, oh sorry, my tummy's rumbling. I wanted to get empatia written here, but I've kind of gone off getting a tattoo again now. I also wanted to get a nose piercing. The next thing that I don't want you to feel shameful of is not having lots of money and not being able to afford kind of going out for lunch with your friends. I don't want you to feel ashamed when you say, I can't go out. I don't want you to avoid seeing your friends because you know they're going to spend money. I've had times when I've been out with friends and I've been a bit like, oh, money. And I felt kind of ashamed to admit that to them, and I haven't, basically.
Isn't it silly though?
It's not silly to have money anxiety. We live in a world that is just obsessed with money, and I think money is the root of all evil, which is why I don't like capitalism. I just think money is just, it's completely everywhere. We're so obsessed with it, and it's not our faults as individuals, it's the system that we exist in. So please don't bash yourself for being anxious about money, because it's just everywhere and it's exhausting. And that's why I just adore being out in nature, because that's the one thing that is I think nature's the most beautiful thing in the world, and it's free. And it just goes to show that money is not everything. Look at nature. Just look at nature. And actually look what money has done to nature. Having the money to dig up for palm oil and destroy beauty because of the money you have and the money you want to make. Not you, the big companies, the billionaires, the millionaires. Anyway, I just think that because we live in a capitalist world, we're so tempted. And it's nice to eat out and stuff and go bowling and whatnot, but there's just so much drive now to do things with friends and be really busy and stimulated, when actually some of the best things are just simple and free, like going for a walk with a friend, or maybe cooking them some food. So that involves a bit of money, but just cooking food in your home and then sitting on the sofa and chatting, or just being in nature. I value just pure, deep connection more than anything. If your friendships really rely on you spending money, on you being stimulated, and you basically just spending money to hang out, I don't think that really reflects a very genuine friendship. I think, obviously, if you have the means to do that, do it. But I just think if it needs that, if you need to be like spending money to hang out with a friend to enjoy it, I don't think that's a good thing. I just think the best friendships, the kind of simple friendships where you just are so entertained by the conversations that you have and the thoughts that you have, and yeah, just feeling safe with someone. I think money and friendships is just such an interesting thing, actually. I realise that I'm talking about money and I am in a place of privileged compared to many, so just want to like point that out. But this person called Dr. Joffe Ellis, just want to read out 2 things she said that I thought was so interesting. The media and literature and society tell us overtly and covertly that you're more special when you've got more and spend more. Very true. Or just for, whatever. She also suggests thinking about how you'd react if the person you loved the most lost some money. Would you love them less? No, you probably wouldn't, because you love them unconditionally. Just think that's sometimes quite nice to hear. I think that's obvious, but also we forget that. We forget that we don't have to pretend we can afford the lunch when really we're going to be anxious eating the lunch the whole time. If they really love you and care for you, they'll be like, don't worry, let's just cook at home. Let's just get a picnic. Let's just go for a walk instead and get a coffee instead of going for this like spenny lunch. I just want to see you and talk to you and hear about your nights out, or you know, go for a meditation session with you. Money should not be what holds up your friendship. I think we've all got our own relationship with money. We've all got our own maybe like traumas or just like, yeah, relationships that are formed in earlier years, and you know, the position that your family has been in really affects you and how you view money. So I don't want to like recommend anything, but just want to share with you what I have been doing literally today to kind of heal that relationship with money and just put myself in a bit of a state of abundance as opposed to a state of lack. I have been repeating affirmations like, I attract money, money flows easily and effortlessly to me. And again, it's just having that positive thing when you get in a state of anxiety with money to just be like, no, money flows to me effortlessly. I know that sometimes it feels a bit like, no, it doesn't. Like, we live in a stressful world that just is constantly taking money and it's so expensive to just exist. Sometimes just saying these things just makes you feel a bit more positive, and then it makes you focus on more positive things and makes you feel like you can start up this business that you've always wanted to start up and you're really passionate about because you're in this state of abundance as opposed to lack. And I just think it creates a positive mindset. It creates a more positive life. I don't think if you just think positive, you'll have a positive life though. I'm aware of that. There's a lot, you know, if you're privileged, if you've got good friends, all this stuff is going into creating a positive life. But I just think having, like, your mindset's so important. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you can tell yourself, I've got money, I'm going to be successful, I am successful, money's coming to me all the time, just think, it trains the subconscious to just be like, I've got this. Opportunities. I can put money into this and I will get that money back. Moving on. I just want to have a good night. I need a wee, but I don't want to leave because I'm having such a good time. I think I'm going to keep talking to you even though I need a pee-pee. If you've got water by you, have a sip with me now. Stay hydrated. Water genuinely gives me energy. So the next thing that I don't want you to feel ashamed of, that I have harboured a lot of shame with, is not speaking the language of my ancestors, of like my mum's native language. My mum's Italian.
You know Italian, right? Some words. Un po'. Just a bit.
And I'm so proud of that. That like lives within me and is a part of my everyday, actually, I'd say. I'm really proud to be Italian and it's a massive part of my daily life. Food particularly. But also I just think I am Italian through and through. And just because I don't speak the language doesn't mean, like, it doesn't make me less of an Italian. My mum was busy and I was going to school and there were just other things going on that just meant that we couldn't speak Italian, and I wasn't gonna to learn it at a young age. I wasn't brought up speaking Italian. I did a little bit. I think my first few words I just spat. You probably saw that, so I just wanted to mention that. My first few words were in Italian. My first word was actually pane, which is bread in Italian. I just feel a lot of shame with that, and I have another friend who I know can relate, so I thought maybe this is a common thing. So I just quickly wanted to mention it. I'm not a fluent, confident speaker. I know I can understand a lot of it, but I can't speak it fluently, and I get so much shame, particularly when I'm in Italy. I'm like, do I speak it? Do I not? And when people find out I'm Italian, the first thing that people will jump to ask you is, do you speak it? And I get that, and I don't judge people for saying that, but I think if you're in my position where you don't, you get it. You know that there's some part of you that's like, oh, that makes me less Italian. It's your choice. If you choose to identify with that culture, your family's culture, your ancestors' culture, then you choose to identify with it. It's a big part of your life, and that's it. Next thing, jobs. I think there's a lot of shame around, one, having your just perfect dream career sorted out and being on the right path. It's not easy, and we live in a world where there's so much pressure to get a job quickly, and there's money and there's so much, and yeah, there's that, but there's also the pressure to follow a very certain path, like go to uni, maybe get a 9 to 5. And if you deviate from the path a little bit like me, then you might face some like judgments and criticism and people being like, Why aren't you following the socially approved way of life? Why are you trying to be a YouTuber? Why are you trying to do social media? Young me would be so happy to hear that I've got a YouTube channel. You can feel a lot of judgments regarding that, especially with like older generations. I think if you know that you're trying to do good, and if you're listening to your soul and what your deepest desires are driving you to do, then good on you, and keep doing it. And you're going to inspire people to do that too. And that will make you happy and other people happy. And happiness is a really important thing. I say that, the reason why I went is because I think there's a bit of a pressure to always be happy. And as humans, we're not wired. We're not wired to be continually happy. And I think we beat ourselves up for feeling sad, but that's just the reality of being human. So I'm not trying to put a pressure on you to be happy 100% of the time. But to be happy more often, I think following a career path, if you can, if you've got the privilege to trial a career that actually speaks to you and what you want to do and that will make you happy, you should. And letting go of the shame of not like doing what your parents want you to do maybe, or what society wants you to do, or whatever, it can eat away at you a little bit. And I think sometimes people just want what's best for you, and they think that, you know, it's worked out for them going down this certain path, so they think, well, you should just do the same as me. You've just got to remember that their intentions are good, but they only have their own perspective, and that's what they're focusing on. The next thing that I don't want you to feel ashamed of, it's something else that boils my blood a bit. So if I get a bit passionate, bear with. That wasn't me trumping or farting. Sorry, I grew up saying trumping because that's just what my parents said, so most people say fart. Yeah, that was the chirp. Another thing I don't want you to feel ashamed of is enjoying chick flicks, romantic films, romantic books, just anything that's associated with like being women's media.
I see you got my letters.
Also, I don't want you to feel bad about listening to Beyonce or Britney Spears or Taylor Swift, or spending time getting ready and doing your makeup. This is all stuff that is categorized as women's entertainment or things that women enjoy. So it's no wonder that that's stigmatized. Any chance to belittle a woman, basically, because we live in a patriarchal, sexist world where, yeah, sexist culture rules, and things that are stereotypically masculine are praised, and things that are stereotypically feminine are embarrassing to enjoy, like listening to Ariana Grande. I'm now in a position where I'm getting, actually, I would say there's still a tiny bit of shame, actually, with enjoying like over-emotional or bad quality media, which I don't think is bad quality, actually. I just think our sexist culture deems it bad. I just think, actually, Ariana Grande sings about her emotions and feelings and experiences. She's emotional and vulnerable. And a lot of these chick flicks and romances are too. It's interesting that those are embarrassing things to own up, like they're guilty pleasures. Why are they guilty? Why is being emotional and vulnerable something to be embarrassed about? I think it's, again, because it's associated with like a characteristic of being feminine, of being a woman. And like, you know, the whole thing, like men can't cry, men can't be emotional. If you want to be strong and powerful and be a business person, you can't be emotional. I think it's just all tied up with that kind of, those stereotypes. I wrote this down on my notes, and I think I'm just going to read it to you really quickly. The sexist culture that dominates in today's world has put in our heads that women's films, books, and entertainment is embarrassing, over-emotional, bad quality. It's sexism and it's rubbish. That sums up that point. Moving on. The next thing I don't want you to feel ashamed of is how you dress, how you like to visually present yourself. I have gone through it with this. I've made videos about this in the past. I think it's also been tied up with my sexuality and not really knowing how to express myself because of wanting to adhere to stereotypes in terms of like being bisexual and wanting to be recognised as someone who's bisexual, because bi erasure is a thing. Yeah, express yourself how you want to express yourself. Clothing is a great outlet for doing that. I remember a long while ago, meeting a friend in town, and she was like, "What are you wearing?" And I remember when I left the house, I was like, "I look really cool. I really like this outfit. For me, this is cool. This is comfortable." And when she said that, she made me feel really ashamed. And I would never say that to someone. We should allow people the space to enjoy how they want to dress. And it annoys me when you see someone that is, you know, dressed unconventionally, maybe for their gender or maybe just unconventionally in general, you usually see older generations judging. That upsets me because those people are not harming anyone. For some people, dressing in the clothes that represent themselves is so empowering, and I just think if it's not hurting anyone, you shouldn't have an opinion, especially a negative one. I just think commenting on people's appearances is becoming less and less relevant for me. I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't know. Obviously being like, you look beautiful is lovely and it's nice to hear that, and I enjoy that, but I don't know, I just want to spend more time complimenting people's personalities and their like inner selves. I want to give people the space to express themselves. Do you? It doesn't really matter what you look like, I just love you for who you are. The next one's quite funny. Don't feel ashamed of being a slow reader. I used to have this, and the shame that I used to feel used to perpetuate me being a slow reader, and now I'd say that I'm an average speed reader. I read at an average speed. If you're a slow reader, it doesn't automatically make you dumb. I used to really struggle to read in an environment where lots was going on and lots of conversations were going on. So I spent some time reading in really quiet spaces, and I learned that actually reading isn't this really difficult thing. I just needed to be in a safe, comfortable environment to do so. And now I actually think I can read in busier environments because this like anxiety around reading and reading at a certain like pace has kind of dissipated. I hope you like this video. Please like, share, please subscribe as well. The most important thing is that you comment so I can connect with you, because you know that I like to connect with people and I like to feel the human side of being a YouTuber, because you don't really get that a lot, and it's the comments that give me that. I'd love to do in-person things, and the more I put out videos and the more people are showing up in the comment section, the more I'm like, maybe I should do like, I don't know, like a meet and greet sounds weird though, because I'm not like an influencer. I'd just like to connect with you in person, so if you'd be up for that as well, maybe let me know below. We could do something like go to like an event all together, or oh my god, that would be so fun. If you'd be up for that, can you comment and let me know? Okay, I'm gonna go now. I'll be uploading very soon in the next few days, so stay tuned. Hit the little bell button as well if you want to get notified, and I love you lots.